Little Mouse Rescue. Little Mouse Rescue. Squeaky was a little mouse who lived on a farm. She slept in a cosy nest high above the ground. She loved to race through the great stalks of wheat and play hide and seek with her friends. But most of all, she loved to sneak into the farmer's kitchen and nibble on the crumbs she found there. This was a very dangerous thing to do because two big, mean tomcats lived in the farmhouse. "I'm not afraid of those cats," the foolish little mouse would tell her friends. One day, Squeaky called down to her mouse friends, Max and Rosie. "Wake up, we're going on an adventure." It didn't take long for Squeaky to persuade her friends to join her. The little mice sneaked under the back door of the farmhouse. They quickly climbed up onto the kitchen table where they found all kinds of wonderful foods. Squeaky looked at Max and Rosie with a great big smile. "Look, they've left us a delicious feast. Just help yourselves," she squealed with delight. The mice ate and ate till their tummies were full, then scurried safely out of the house. That night, Max and Rosie slept soundly, but Squeaky tossed and turned. She couldn't stop thinking about all the delicious food still left in the farmer's kitchen. The greedy little mouse was hungry again. "I'll creep back and get myself a little snack," she decided. In the darkness, she hopped down from her nest and scampered back to the house. She crept quietly on tiptoes past the sleeping tomcats to get back to the kitchen table. To her delight, there was even more tasty leftovers, and she quickly began to gobble them up. Pieces of bread, nuts, fruit, even ice cream, and lots of cheese, her favourite food. She couldn't believe her luck. The little mouse said sleepily to herself. "That was the best snack I've ever had." She yawned and stretched. "I'll just lie down for a couple of minutes before I head back home." In an instant, Squeaky was sound asleep. In the morning, Rosie woke up and saw that Max was asleep, but Squeaky's nest was empty and she was nowhere to be seen. "Oh no," she exclaimed. "Squeaky must have gone back to the kitchen. We had better go and find her." Gathering together a few mouse friends, she set off back to the farmhouse and searched the kitchen high and low. Finally, Rosie spotted Squeaky. "Look," she cried, "she's sleeping in the flour sack." The little mice tried to wake Squeaky, but she was too full and too sleepy. The only response they got was a loud snore. "We'll have to carry her," Rosie decided. "But be very quiet. We don't want to wake those awful cats." The mice lifted their fat friend and began creeping out of the house, past the two tomcats. Suddenly, one cat raised its head and opened an eye. "Oh no," gasped Rosie. Then the big orange cat slowly closed its eye and went back to sleep. "That was close," whispered Rosie. The mice carried Squeaky safely outside and set off towards her nest. On the way, they met Max. The mice put Squeaky down. They wanted to see if she could walk by herself, but she could not even open her eyes. "She'd better be grateful for what we're doing," grumbled Rosie. "If we hadn't gone after her, she would have been the cat's breakfast." The friends picked Squeaky up again, but the sleeping mouse seemed heavier than ever. "She's just too heavy," complained Rosie. "I need to stop and rest." "Not yet," whispered Max. "What if the cats wake up and come after us? What if an owl sees us standing around? Look, it's not much further to Squeaky's nest." "You're right," sighed Rosie. "Let's keep going." After much huffing and puffing, the mice finally made it home safe and sound. The next morning, Squeaky listened as Max and Rosie told her about their adventure. Squeaky couldn't believe how foolish she'd been. "How can I ever thank you for rescuing me?" she asked. "Just promise you'll never do that again," said Max. "We wouldn't want to lose you over some silly treats," added Rosie. "I promise," she squeaked. "I promise," said Squeaky. "Besides, the best treat is having good friends like you." Our dog knows words. Our dog knows words. Our dog knows words. He knows sit and shake hands. He knows stay and come. He knows lie down and roll over. He knows fetch, catch and scratch. "Stop, come back." "Oh no," he knows, but he doesn't always obey. Bad dog. His favourite word is dinner time, but bath time are two words he never likes to hear. He knows jump up as well as get down. What's so special? Every dog knows those words. Well, he actually gets it when we spell W-A-L-K. He loves the word C-A-R and S-W-I-M. If we say smile, he smiles. And if we say sing, he does. He even knows nose. And when we say time for bed, he puts himself to bed. Good night, you clever dog. Pepper's first sleepover. Pepper's first sleepover. Pepper is going to her very first sleepover over at Zoe's Zebra's house. "Welcome to my sleepover," Zoe says. "I'll pick you up in the morning," Mummy Pig says to Pepper with a kiss. Rebecca Rabbit, Susie Sheep and Emily Elephant are already here. "I've got my teddy," Pepper says. Zoe has her monkey, Rebecca has her carrot, Susie has her owl and Emily has her frog. "Don't stay up too late, girls, and don't be too loud. Daddy Zebra has to get up early to deliver the post," Mummy Zebra says as she turns out the light. Zoe's baby twin sisters, Zuzu and Zaza, want to join the sleepover too. "Sleepovers are only for big girls," Zoe says. The twins begin to cry. "They're so sweet and little," Pepper says. "Can't they stay?" Rebecca asks. "Okay," Zoe says to the twins, "but you must not fall asleep." "What shall we do first?" Susie asks. "I'm having piano lessons. Listen." Zoe starts to pound on the keys. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Mummy Zebra has woken up. "Shh, you must be quiet so Daddy Zebra can sleep. Now into your sleeping bags, please." "Snort, what do we do now?" Pepper asks. "At sleepovers there's always a midnight feast," Zoe says. "It's when we eat things," Susie says, in a hushed voice, "in secret." "Shh," Zoe says as she leads the girls to the kitchen. They each grab some delicious fruit, perfect for a midnight feast. The floorboards creak. "Oh no, Mummy Zebra has woken up. You'll wake Daddy Zebra now. Who knows a bedtime story?" The girls take turns. "Once upon a time there was a little fairy," Susie begins, "and she lived in the forest," Pepper continues, "and the fairy met a big monster who went roar," Emily says, with a big elephant trumpet nose. "Oh dear, the noise has woken Daddy Zebra." "Sorry, Daddy," Zoe says. There was a story about a fairy and a scary monster. And we want to know what happens next. Pepper says, "Very well," Daddy Zebra sighs. "The monster lifts up his great big hairy paws and walks along on his great big hairy feet and sang, 'Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.'" Daddy Zebra sings gently as he plays the piano. Daddy Zebra's song has sent everyone to sleep. Rosie Robin's birthday surprise. Rosie Robin sings when she is happy. She sounds like this. "Today is Rosie's birthday. I will ask my friends to sing with me," she says. Rosie flies to the pond to visit Fitzberg Frog. "Fitzberg, come and sing with me," says Rosie. Rosie starts to sing. "No, I can't today," says Fitzbert. "There is something I must do." Fitzbert hurries away from the pond. Rosie flies to Rebecca Rabbit's hill. "Good morning, Rebecca," says Rosie. "Do you want to sing with me?" Rosie starts to sing. "Not today," says Rebecca. "There is something I must make." Rebecca hops into her hole. Rosie flies over the meadow to see Gavin Grasshopper. "Gavin, let's sing together," says Rosie. Rosie starts to sing. "I can't right now," says Gavin. "There are some things I must get." Gavin turns and jumps away. Rosie flies back to her tree. She sits on the branch. She doesn't feel like singing anymore. Lester Lizard wanders over. "Rosie," he says, "come with me. There's something you must see." Rosie and Lester walk around a big bush. Fitzberg, Rebecca and Gavin are hiding behind it. "Surprise!" they shout. "Happy birthday, Rosie!" they cry. Rosie's friends start singing happy birthday. Rosie feels so happy, she sings too. Rescue. Learn about things that move. I am a police car, on the lookout for trouble around. With red and blue flashing lights, you'll hear my siren sound. I am an ambulance. I get the sick to hospital fast. If you hear my siren sound, move aside so I can pass. I am a tow truck. I can help you if you're broken down or hit. I'll pull you to the repairman where he can quickly fix it. I am a park ranger. I patrol and observe. I look after animals and trees at your local reserve. I am a lifeguard on patrol at the beach and pool. I'll keep you safe whenever you choose to stay cool. I am a snowplow. I push my blade along the ground. I clear the roads and paths after the snow has fallen down. Squeaky the Tugboat. Squeaky the Tugboat. Squeaky was sad, Squeaky was cross. Squeaky sniffed his blue smokestack. "A toy store is no place for a red-painted tugboat," said Squeaky, and he sniffed his blue smokestack again. "I was meant for bigger things." "Perhaps you would not be so cross if you went sailing," said the man with the polka dot tie who owned the shop. So one night he took Scuffy home to his little boy. He filled the bathtub with water. "Sail, little tugboat," said the little boy. "I won't sail in a tugboat," said Scuffy. "A tub is no place for a red-painted tugboat. I was meant for bigger things." The next day the man with the polka-dot tie and the little boy carried Scuffy to a laughing brook that started high in the hills. "Sail, little tugboat," said the man with the polka-dot tie. It was spring. The brook was full to the brim with its water, and the water moved in a hurry. As all things move in a hurry when it is spring, Scuffy was in a hurry too. "Come back, little tugboat, come back," cried the little boy as the hurrying brim brook carried Scuffy downstream. "Not I," tooted Scuffy, "not I. This is the life for me." All that day Scuffy sailed along with the brook, past the meadows filled with cowslips, past the women washing clothes on the bank, past the little woods filled with violets. Cows came to the brook to drink. They stood in the cool water, and it was fun to sail around between their legs and bump softly into their noses. It was fun to see them drink. But when a white and brown cow almost drank Scuffy instead of the brook's cool water, Scuffy was frightened. That was not fun. Night came, and with it the moon. There was nothing to see but the quiet trees. Suddenly an owl called out, "Hoot, hoot, toot, toot," cried the frightened tugboat, as he wished he could see the smiling face of the man with the polka-dot tie. When morning came, Scuffy was cross instead of frightened. "I was meant for bigger things, but which way am I to go?" he said. But there was only one way to go, and that was with the running water, where the two brooks met to form a small river, and with the river sailed Scuffy, the red-painted tugboat. He was proud when he sailed past villages. "People build villages on the edge of my river," said Scuffy, and he straightened his blue smokestack. Once Scuffy's river joined a small one jammed with logs. Here were men in heavy jackets and great boots walking about on the floating logs, trying to pray them free. "Toot, toot, let me through," demanded Scuffy, but the men paid no attention to him. They pushed the logs apart as they would drift with the river to the sawmill in the town. Scuffy bumped along with the jostling logs. "Ouch!" he cried as two logs bumped together. "This is a fine river," said Scuffy, "but it's very busy and very big for me." He was proud when he sailed under the bridge. "My river is so wide and so deep that people must build bridges to cross it." The river moved through big towns now instead of villages, and the bridges over it were very wide enough so that mini cars and trucks, street cars, could cross all at once. The river got deeper and deeper. Scuffy did not have to tuck up his bottom. The river moved faster and faster. "I feel like a train instead of a tugboat," said Scuffy, as he was hurried along. He was proud when he passed an old sawmill with its water wheel. But high in the hills and mountains, the winter snow melted. Water filled the brooks and rushed from there into the small rivers. Faster and faster it flowed to the great river where Scuffy sailed. "There is too much water in the river," said Scuffy, as he pitched and tossed in the waves. "Soon it will splash over the top of what a flood there will be." Soon great arms of men came to save the fields and towns from the rushing water. They filled bags with sand and put them on the edge of the river. They're making higher banks for the river, Scruffy shouted, to hold the water back. The water rose higher and higher. The men built the sandbags higher and higher. Higher went the river, higher went the sandbags. At last the water rose no more. The flood water rushed onto the sea, and Scruffy raced along with the flood. The people in the fields and the towns were safe. Oh, went the river to the sea. On went the river to the sea. At last Scruffy sailed into the big city where the river widened and all about were docks and wharves. Oh, it was a busy place and a noisy place. The cranes groaned as they swung the cargo into great ships. The porters shouted as they carried suitcases and boxes on board. Horses stamped and trucks' motors roared. Streetcars clanged and people shouted. Scruffy said, "Toot toot," but nobody noticed. "Oh no," cried Scruffy when he saw the sea. "There is no beginning and there is no end to the sea. I wish I could find the man with a polka dot tie and the little boy." Just as the little red painted tugboat sailed past the last piece of land, a hand reached out and picked him up. And there was the man with the polka dot tie and his little boy beside him. Scruffy is home now with the man and the polka dot tie and the little boy. He sailed from one end of the tugboat bathtub to the other. "This is the place for a red painted tugboat," said Scruffy, "and this is the life for me."